Now back to this current scandal. We are joined by Dan Cogdell. He's the attorney for Michael Center, a tennis coach at the University of Texas, who was fired after being charged in connection with this bribery scheme. Mr. Cogdell, good morning to you.
Good morning.
As you know, sir, your client, Michael Center, is accused of accepting a bribe of nearly $90,000 to admit a student who otherwise would not have been admitted to the University of Texas. Does your client deny accepting a bribe?
My client certainly does. Michael Center is a wonderful man. He's been a top 5 tennis coach for 20 years. He's been hit by a tidal wave. This accusation has been devastating to him, and he absolutely denies being guilty of the offense.
As you say, your client is one of the top tennis coaches in the country, has one of the top programs in the country. So that begs the question, why would your client recruit a young high school kid, and these are the allegations by the U.S. Attorney's Office, who played I think 1 year of tennis in high school as a freshman, and give him what he called sort of a book scholarship?
Well, keep in mind, Hoda, that the accusations stem from the cooperation with this Singer fellow who was the head of the organization, and he's the kingpin. It's kind of like making a deal with John Gotti to go after the limo driver. I'm not accepting his accusations or what he's saying just because he said it. None of this means anything until we get into the light of a cross-examination.
The U.S. Attorney, though, says it actually has an email from your client to the father of that young high school student saying that there was a letter of intent. So that leaves Mr. Singer out of it.
Well, it doesn't leave Mr. Singer out of it because he's the center of gravity of these charges. And again, these prosecutors are skilled, thorough, and competent, and I'm not accusing them of any misconduct. But I'm simply saying is I haven't reviewed the evidence. I don't know what the evidence is, and this is an accusation. Last I checked, the presumption of innocence still means something.
Of course, but as you well know, I'm certain that you've read the information, the charging document, and it contains a transcript of a recorded call between your client and the defendant, Mr. Singer, where he appears to acknowledge giving the student a book scholarship, refers to payments of approximately $90,000, some of which he says he gave to the tennis program. So, assuming the transcript and the charging document is correct, isn't he essentially admitting to the basic facts here?
I'm not assuming the transcript is correct. I haven't seen it. I haven't read it. I haven't listened. I mean,
well, wait a minute. Wouldn't it be highly irregular for a professional prosecutor to put an erroneous transcript into a court record?
It certainly would be erroneous, but prosecutors aren't perfect, and no prosecutor, no lawyer is. So until I see the evidence, I'm not going to sit there and speculate on what's right and what's wrong in the accusation.
Assuming the transcript is correct, though, would it not contain an admission from your client to the basic facts here?
Hypothetically, if that transcript is correct, it would be a damaging document. It would be a damaging tape. But again, I haven't listened to the tape. I haven't seen the transcript. I don't know the context. So let's move on from speculation.
Well, Dan Cogdell, we appreciate your time this morning. I know it's early in the case, and it's early in the morning as well, so we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you all.